Hola, bienvenidos de nuevo a MHR desde Corona Capital Guadalajara. En este momento estamos con Julia Holter desde Los Ángeles y estamos muy emocionados por su set el día de hoy, sábado 21 de mayo. Y antes de que tomen el escenario, vamos a hacerles unas preguntillas rápidas mientras nos ayuda pintando una calaverita. So, Julia, how are you doing? How are you doing so far?
Yeah, I think very good, thank you.
So, your last record was a double album.
Right.
So I was thinking, I was like, writing a double record,
Yeah.
it changed your way of thinking music? Of structural talking, it changed something in the way of...
I think it was pretty, it was most, I mean, I don't know why it was a double record, but it just turned out that way. It wasn't a plan. But it felt, that aviary felt kind of like one of my first records, Tragedy. It felt very, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it felt very right for me. It didn't feel forced. So it wasn't like I was trying to make something really long or really epic or anything. It just was really what I wanted to make at the time. So I didn't think too much about it. And it didn't necessarily change anything about, like, the length of it didn't affect me necessarily. It was kind of just what happened. And it wasn't really meant to be that long. But
So it was something organic. It just
yeah,
happened.
exactly.
That's great. So, I mean, we just survived a traumatic event. I mean, with COVID-19, we're just trying to figure out what's working on it. But we were inside the same four walls for a little while, for almost a year. So, yeah, how did you find a way to keep, being creative? How do you find inspiration in every single day?
I'm painting. I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. It's actually been pretty hard to be creative. I haven't felt very creative because during the pandemic it's such a traumatic thing for everyone. I didn't have a bad situation. I did not get sick yet.
That's great.
So I'm very lucky, but I feel like I never realized until the past 2 years how important it is to have like a collective health, like mentally, for art, and how like collective depression, as we've experienced it, because of collective trauma from a pandemic, has really affected creativity. And I see it not just in me, but in so many people, that it really affects, like, I'm not going to see shows regularly and not seeing friends enough. It really affects me. And I'm a pretty insular person and introverted, so I know it's affected a lot of people if it affects me, you know? So I feel like it's really taken a toll on my creativity, honestly. It's pretty depressing right now. It's gotten better, but we were touring pretty heavily in 2018 and 2019. And when you're touring so much, you feel like, oh, I need alone time, you know? But the truth is, like, being apart from people for that long is actually really hard on one's mental state. Not just one's mental state, actually, I would say more for my creativity. I think I've been okay, but I think, like, my creative side really suffered. I really could do more like basic administrative kind of stuff, but working on my music has been challenging.
How do you keep finding stories to tell?
That's a great question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think I'm working on that. I think that, like, with experience, you just change. I've noticed, like, I've been writing songs now for a long time, and, like, learning new things all the time based on my experience in life, and changing and your life changing in different ways. And I don't really think that it's like obvious how my stories will change. I wouldn't. I also don't. Maybe it is obvious to others, but for me personally, it's not going to be easy to quantify how or like identify how things change in my music. But definitely like. Yeah, like I was saying, like not seeing, my realization about the collective consciousness that's needed for creativity, and that has been a huge, I don't know, it's really affected me. And I think with experience, things change a lot, and how one approaches one's art and what interests me in my art has changed. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to produce other people's music, and I'd love to make more music for film. I've really enjoyed working with, for example, Eliza Hittman, whose film Never Really, Sometimes Always I scored a couple years ago.
Yeah, great. Great movie.
I just like love that. And film scoring, producing, like all that stuff I'm kind of interested in. I always want to try new things.
You work in Never Really, Sometimes Always.
Uh-huh.
Great movie.
Yeah.
I cried
So
like a baby.
It's so beautiful.
And I mean, let's just think about the movie, and let's think about the current state that is happening in your country, in the United States.
Yes.
The Warren versus I think I forgot the name. I'm so sorry about it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the abortion, it's in danger. It's
right.
And it's not because it's illegal, it's going to stop. It's going to happen. It's going to be dangerous. So
Exactly.
I mean, how do you feel about it? How do you
About specifically the
about
abortion?
the situation, and about how, if you think that the arts can help in a way?
Oh yeah, I definitely, I think like I've realized over time, like I used to when I was younger think that arts was like its own thing, and that like I had this like weird kind of pure ideal of like the art being separate from politics or something. I don't know what that was, but but basically like I think all art is political inherently, even if it's not addressing something political. Like you come from a certain world that you've experienced, and that influences your art whether you want it to or not, and like there's all kinds of things like that. So I think, but I guess that's sort of maybe it's a different subject, but I think like in terms of something like political issues, human rights issues, I think for sure art is, the way I think about it is like creative art that is not imposed from above, like creative art that's made from the artist, that is not just sort of like a corporate thing, like there's plenty of commercial music that is pretty like corporate or whatever. I don't know what I mean by that, but that there's a lot of music that is maybe not made by the artist exclusively. It's made by like someone telling them what they should do. Okay.
Yes,
which is totally fine. I mean,
it's fine, but sometimes feels like a machine.
It's throughout time, but I think that the power of art that is actually like made, which is very much a lot of music, including some major label music, is made by the artists themselves. So it's not just about like popularity or whatever, but all of that creative music I think that is a very good tool against something like fascism, like having like creative music, not that it's necessarily overtly political, but just the existence of music that is just creative, and it's paving its own way, and it's not like following anything. It is like going to be a natural way to, it's not going to solve anything in an obvious way. It's just that it's like, just think about how you feel when you listen to music you love that is really powerful, It's like the opposite of the feeling of like following something that is like suppressing. It's like you know what I mean? I don't know. I really do believe in the power of that to be one of the things that contribute to a healthy society.
Yeah,
it's like healthy for people.
Yeah.
it's healthy for people's mental state to like have interesting music, just like it is interesting films or interesting
Yeah, of course,
to
of
make
course.
you feel and think and like yeah.
Well, Julia Holter, damas y caballeros, muchas gracias por seguir viendo. Do you want to show your?
Okay, it's like a
your
little
scoop?
wet.
Yeah,
It's all
don't you worry
red.
about it.
Todo rojo. No sé.
Just show it to the camera and